Kate Chernis, welcome to the ROI Online Podcast.
Hey there, Steve. Thanks for having me.
What do you get when you take a rock and roll DJ for XM radio that has an audience of like 20 million people, okay? And you mix her up and you put her in this position where she's doing social media for maybe Walmart or all these others, and she's really good at spreadsheets. What do you get, Kate?
You get Kately, right?
Kate
That's
from
it's a
Lately.
crazy mix. Kately from Lately.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the thing that, I'm 47 years old and I'm, I like to be able to look at my life and assemble the pieces and hopefully they've made sense so far, right? And they're making more and more sense, right? Like that line seemed like a zigzag for a long time. But then it all came together. And the fact that I can use something like being a rock and roll DJ in another part of my life is kind of a miracle of all things, right? The same went to, raise your hands, everybody who's listening. If you were an English major, I was too. I was a
Okay.
fiction writing major. And back then they used to call it a bit of a useless degree because you could become an author and, that's a hard way to make a living, or you could become a teacher, which people sadly don't respect that profession or pay it very well either. So they poo-pooed us, but now look who's laughing, Steve, right? Because the internet runs on writing, doesn't it?
It does. It is what I say is the gas that goes into the engine of your online platform. Here's why you need to get to know Kate. She's got a beautiful company. It's called Lately.AI. Okay. Now, what does Lately.ai do? Well, every single person that's listening to this knows they need to wander into this slimy, yucky swamp of social media. Okay. It's the IRS of content marketing. It's where it's
That's the
like
best.
the Facebook owner, the Twitter owner, the LinkedIn, they're the Harvey Weinsteins of tech. And why do I say this? Because they steal our data and they get rich. But then as a business, we need to meet our consumers, our clients somewhere. But guess what Lately does? Lately helps you navigate that swamp safely and successfully.
Thank you so much. You're hired. You're right, though. I mean, people, to your point, they hate writing, and social media is that four-letter word, right? Like, ugh, but we all have to do it. We're trapped in a way, Um, but the funny thing, though, Steve, is that selling, as you know, has always been social. Like since we first sold the wheel back in the way back day, right? So that part's not new, and marketing based on connection is not new. It's just the tools in front of us that are evolving, right? And this is the one that's driving the ship right now. It's social media, right? And it's really actually not as hard as people think, but I think people get bogged down because they don't think themselves to be very interesting, which is sad, right? So they don't know how to find that message that gives people the reason to connect with them. Which is why when we first started talking today, before we push record, we talked about where we are, right?
Yeah.
And look what we did. Like right away, we knew each other. I'm in the Hudson Valley. You're in Texas. We talked about, you rode your bike here. You had an amazing time. You discovered that there's parts of New York that aren't disgusting like New York City. I'm saying that. That's not your words. And I talked about Texas, and you had me dreaming about maybe traveling for the first time in 2 years, right? And the weather does the same thing. When you ask, where's the weather? It's not a boring question. It's the most intelligent question because it levels the playing field and it gives people a reason to react and connect. And it's not fluffy, this idea. This is not about just loving people for the sake of loving and talking about random things like cereal and weight gain or whatever. It's literally finding the common ground to get to trust, because trust is the thing that makes us buy, right?
Love that. And it's true. Okay. Here's what's happened in this train wreck of whatever's been going on in our world this past year and a half. Okay. Is that if you were a business owner, and let me tell you, entrepreneurs are what I call the heroes of our invisible heroes of our time, right? Because I
Mhm.
believe that here they are risking everything, their future, their family's future, and they provide us services and products that improve our lives. And yet they didn't sign up for this day in the future that we just learned where you had to stay home. You couldn't have people come to your showroom. You couldn't meet them in a conference area and shake their hands. And yet you have to pay the bills. You have employees that are depending upon you to figure out how you're going to navigate this new environment. And so if they weren't convinced they need to get their act together online, I'm telling you, they're convinced now, and they're searching and they're grasping. And that's why Lately is like a great thing that you should know about.
Thank you. It's true. Actually, the demand for social media platforms has increased. I want to say it was from 16.6 billion to they're projecting 44 billion in the next 4 years, right? COVID is driving that, of course, also. But then as well, the demand for artificial intelligence in the content creation sphere specifically, which is what Lately does, around those social media platforms, that's also gone up from, I think it was, I want to say 2.2 million to 14 billion to 14 billion. And the reason is because the pressure now more than ever is not only on a business to play in the sphere and to meet people where they already are, but for individuals to be responsible for their own social media connections and targeting, right? So people are having to do things that are uncomfortable. I was just talking to my friend who's an entrepreneur the other day, and she's like, I'm so good at the cooking part of all of this, but this part, the fundraising part, the sales part, it's terrible. And I remember, Steve, every musician I ever met said the same thing to me, right? They hated being their own business leader. And I get that. And it's unfortunate a bit that that's the way it is now, but it is. You have to figure out a way to make, you're the cover of the magazine. So you're selling the magazine and you're on the cover, right? And it does come natural to some people, and to others it doesn't. But I find a lot of people just need kind of the nudge, right? So for us, the artificial intelligence is. Do you mind if I say it? I don't want to be a commercial, but can I just describe it and then
No,
we can
please do.
move off?
Please.
Okay. So the way it works, lovely listener, is we study your social media channels and we're looking at what words and phrases and sentence structures get you the highest engagement, and we learn every day. And in fact, we invite you to help us learn so you can curate the AI and kind of boss it around a little bit, right? And then we build a writing model based on the words that'll get you the most engagement, clicks, and shares. And anytime you feed us long form content like a podcast like this, or a chapter of the book you just wrote, or a blog link, or the interview that you just gave, or audio, even like so, a podcast which is audio, we'll atomize it into all the one-liner snippets where we find the writing model exists, and in the case of video, clip up the video quotes at the same time, and give you a whole bunch, so you have a lot to choose from. And the goal, as Steve, as you know, is again not to remove the human out of the loop, because we are essential here still, right? But to take the headache away so you don't have to guess what to say, because that's guessing is pointless and hard. Like do you have the fear of the blank page, Steve? I do.
Yes, it's writer's block. I sit there and
Real.
that's when I really self-doubt. I
Me too. Yeah, me too. You know what? So I have my interns and my staff. I do this thing. I don't know if they hate it. I imagine I would hate it, but they all do it graciously, which is I'll ask them to write me um, an email, a blog, whatever it is. Just start it for me, and then I go and I rip it all apart.
Mhm.
But and I make it how I want it to be. But because they started it for me, even if I don't like it, it doesn't matter. They got me over like the biggest hurdle, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Lately is designed to do that with social. And we use it. So, and I just want to for anyone who's rolling their eyes about social and whether it's effective or not. So we don't do any paid ads or any cold calls or cold emails at Lately. We only use our own organic software and AI, which did by hand for Walmart back in the day. And we have a 98% sales conversion, Steve. I'll say that again so people can lean in. 98%. Right?
When someone connects with you and you have a sales call,
Mhm.
it's so compelling that your close rate is 98%.
That's right. Yeah.
I was one of
It's,
them.
you were one of them. And it's because the AI. So how did you hear about us? Did we find you online?
That's a great question. I don't know, but
I wonder.
here's what happened, and I'm interrupting your story.
Oh, please, no.
But so I run an agency. That's how crazy self just run through a forest with your eyes closed and get knocked down by anything you run into, right? That's the kind of guy I am. I run an agency. Well, what does that mean? It means that we help our clients communicate better. So, but here's where this big trap has been for us. Okay. Let's assume you have an employee that is engaged and loves to write social media, that loves this client's product and is inspired every day to write social posts to help introduce new people to what that great company does. Well, they're humans. And over time, their content gets stale. If they get interrupted, they may misspell something. They may just miss the boat, but they're just winging it, if for lack of a better word. But when I ran into Lately, oh my gosh, the dots connected. Here's what AI does for AI is beautiful at recognizing patterns and patterns of success. And so great entrepreneurs recognize patterns and then they start to align a product to capitalize on those patterns they recognize of behavior or interest or whatever. And so what does the AI do? It goes out and reads all these posts and then goes, oh, these are performing well. I can help you write a great teaser line that will perform well, as opposed to you having to make it up every time you sit down. And we're going to read through this long. So we're doing this in video and audio, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to run it through that tool. It's going to pull out the pithy parts, write a teaser, and here's the most brilliant part. It's going to put a link. And that link, we get to pick where that link is going to drop the person that bites on that. That's the most important piece of all that you do, that link that brings them back to your place to develop a relationship. And now all of a sudden this one person can be at their best, but the tool is like helping them do 15, 30 posts from a piece of content where realistic expectations might be 2 or 3 good posts from that engaged individual.
Yeah, the objective is what you're touching on there, which is really important. People sometimes forget that everything they write, whether it's a text to ask your husband to take out the trash, or you're on Slack trying to get a team member to get a task done, there's always the objective, right? And social media posts also have an objective. There's only 2 in socials. It's click or share, right? Those are the main ones. And so the click is obvious, like you want people to go somewhere and then take an action. And people don't click a lot because they don't trust what's behind the link, interestingly enough, right? So we're really working hard with the AI to help you pull out that context for you, and then to get you, the human, to just make sure it's clear on what's there. And then with the reshares, so I'm just giving some pointers to people. The reshares are the things that are easier to get when you're a small business, right? Because reshares are about ego, Steve. So they make you look good. They make you look smart, right? I always think of it as like in college when somebody brought you a new record and then you shared it and you look like the cool one, right? Same idea. So you're looking for those quotables that somebody else will be like, oh my God, I totally feel that way as well. Or this is relevant to my business, or etc. So that's what I'm thinking when we're writing, and that's how I'm training our AI. One thing that has come out of that, so we surface these word clouds that show you the words people are literally excited about, and hashtag clouds as well. And so an old marketing rule of thumb was to never make up a hashtag. But guess what? It's wrong. Because we see like our on Lately's word clouds, like one of our highest performing hashtags is hashtag peeing my pants. Because I wrote that when Gary Vee shared something for me.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but that just goes to show you, right? Like you can say something that's pretty like a statement, but then the hashtag alone can put the human in for it and contextualize it at the same time. So it can either give people a reason to reshare it, make them smile perhaps, or give them just a little more information so they know when they click that link what's going to be behind it.
You mentioned Gary Vee. So when he saw what your tool can do, he had the same reaction that I did. Okay. But here's what's amazing. I don't think a lot of people, I think they get hung up on artificial intelligence,
Mm.
and it's intimidating, it's scary. But let me tell you, if you'll not think of it in that way, think about all your competitors, they're going to have the same reaction. And it's all it is. Here's how I explain AI. You know, those times you walk into a dark room, all right? And then especially when we were younger, it's like, what could be in there? Monster, alligators, or you bump into stuff and until you finally find the light switch and you turn it on. And then it's like, oh, it's just furniture. It's just
Right.
a bed. That's all this is. It's a competitive advantage that removes a lot of barriers to producing what I call prolific, pithy posts.
I love it. Prolific, pithy posts.
Mhm. That's
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 so
all it
good.
is. And why do we say that? Because these LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever else is out there, what are they really? They're search engines, and
Right.
they're introductions to relationships that most people are just like Gary Vee says, marketers ruin everything. Okay. But this tool is like cutting through a bunch of them. I call it the swamp, and it's introducing you. It's just you go to a conference or a mixer or something. Why? You want to meet people. That's
Yeah.
all they are. That's all they are.
The same idea. And it just gives you that leg up, right? It takes it's, the same way that LinkedIn, you Google people beforehand. So it's not a totally cold meetup. You have something to talk about, where you're from, where you are, where you've been, whatever it is, where you've worked, college, that kind of thing. And that's the idea with artificial intelligence, for people who are scared. Let me just really help you out here. So if AI was a human on the scale of a life of a human, it's about 3 months old.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
One
So
time.
once you know that, it's just an assistant,
It
right?
can't. So Peter Thiel says it really well in his book, 0 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're all excited that Google Photos can identify a picture of your dog, but I can put pictures of people and my dog and whatever on the floor, and a little toddler come in and I go, give me all the pictures of my dog. No problem. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
So what's the big deal about this? There are there's some concerns in an industrial or military application, but for a business owner who's trying to pay the bills, trying to make it over all the hurdles that life is throwing at us, this is a beautiful way to really optimize and get efficient and exploit an opportunity that your competitors are they're crying in the shower about having to wander in social media, aren't they?
Crying in the shower. It's true. Yeah, it's really the competitive advantage is a big thing, and they're saying now that, and I'm not just saying this to sell my product, but they're saying now that if you don't have AI in your marketing stack in some way, you you can just close up shop because everybody does now, right? It's kind of like cars have the backup cameras. Like I still turn around. I do because I want my neck to be flexible, and as long as I can have it that way. But it's just something that's just there now, just it's becoming part of the fabric of the things. And what's amazing to me, Steve, is that I don't I know, I mean, the next generation of Lately we're working on releasing in about 2 weeks, and it's amazing, even more amazing actually. So the AI is going to do a little more to try to get you further along the path, because this writing problem is really a crucial, difficult thing, and they want more, which is amazing to me. I'm like, oh my God, I think of it as, I was just sharing this metaphor the other day. So when Betty Crocker came out with a box of cake mix, it was all, you just added water. Everything was just powder. And the housewives at the time didn't feel as though they had any human action here. They didn't make the cake. And so they took out the powdered eggs so that we could add the eggs ourselves. And then suddenly we have baked a cake. Okay. Right. So that's my job as an entrepreneur, is to find out what is the right component so I can get just the eggs,
Totally. So tell us a little bit about Lately, as far as, how many do you have on your team? How long have you been in business? And who's like this investor? His first name starts with Gary and his last name starts with V?
Gary's he's an advisor actually, so he's not an investor.
All right.
But he's a really nice man, and we've been really grateful for his help. Right? I mean, he's kind of the poster boy of what we've been doing. Although I didn't know Gary or I had ever heard of him when I did this for Walmart back in 2000. What was it? 11 or 12, I think. But I did meet him at South by Southwest once, when Twitter was 2 years old. I remember that. But yeah, my team is pretty small. We're about 7 full-time and 6 part-time. And by part-time, either interns or consultants who help us. You piece together what you can to make the ship fly, and you're always building the plane as it's flying, right? Or the rocket ship. And then I haven't been able to pay them for a long time. So I am right now, which is great, but that's the part of the rocky road that you talked about before, right? So there were 2 years where 90% of the team wasn't paid. And then recently there was about 6 months where we were doing the same kind of shuffle. And it's always this, the roller coaster is a cliche, but it's 100% true, right? And obviously I'm addicted to it, Steve, because, I keep getting up. But they're a great crew, and we've always been a dispersed team. So several people in Canada, Denver now, actually we've got a few people in Colorado now, New York, New Jersey. And we had a huge leg up when COVID started, because, we do Zoom well. We always have. I mean, I talked to 20 million nobodies in a black box for a lot of my career, right? And that, again, this is what an AI can't do. Like, I can reach through this screen and give you a hug. We already have, basically, right? And that's the skill. Who did you work with? Did you work with Chris Bro on my team?
Ankit and my
Chris or Lauren or maybe Andy Ankit?
Oh, it's been a little bit, but
It's been a while.
yes.
Well, whoever they were, I know they were real nice to you,
Yes,
because we don't have any salespeople lately. Everybody comes from something else. And we saw my head of customer service was outselling every sales gun I ever hired, guys with great resumes and huge networks. And she would just kill them because she's just being Lauren. She's just being herself. She's being nice, kind. The golden rule, right? I know it's corny, but there's nothing more important. Do unto others, sell unto others, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big deal. As I always say, that in sales, it's not about convincing or persuading someone. It's, if you're really doing it as a human, you're figuring out whether this is a best fit for them. And if it's not, have the courage to go, you know what, this is not for you. I would recommend you do this.
Yeah.
It's just long game.
It's a long game. Yeah, it sure is. I mean, it's funny that you say that. Like, so I've raised $3.4 million to date, Steve. And for other entrepreneurs listening who might not know this, for a woman, you only get 2% of all the venture funding. So I have to work 98% harder. If you're a person of color, you're not even on that scale, right? So it's really difficult, and it's just very screwed up, industry. But as we've, been along this road, I mean, really amazing people like you help, and sometimes you're looking for the help and sometimes you're not. And the best part is the lifting of the others up, right? So people are lifting me up. You're doing this now. I'm so grateful, right? I can't do this without you. Literally, I cannot. And I can't do it without my team either, who are really amazing people. But then it's my job too to lift others up. So like I try to, you know, um, it's hard for, a lot of people actually want guidance or entrepreneurial consulting, and I can't do that because I'm running this other business. But like once in a while I say yes, or send other entrepreneurs I know your way or other people's way who are like, oh, can you recommend someone else to talk to, this kind of thing. But you try to pay the karma back where you can, as best you can. And know that like there's a debt, there's going to be a perpetual, for me, I feel like there's a perpetual debt there, right? Like, so the bigger Lately gets, the more obligation I have to pay it back and to lift other people up.
I love that about you. When I was doing my research on you, I was just immediately like, I like her.
Thank you.
Yeah, just like you as a person, you and I share. I want the same thing for my team, right?
Yeah.
My team had to cut back as well. But what does that mean is that we all came together and like had each other's back through a tough time.
It's amazing. And what a team. I mean, that's impressive. That says so much about you, Steve,
Mhm.
right? That people are willing to do that. And I don't think people realize what a big deal that is. I undercut my own leadership skills all the time, actually. Um, I don't know. It's just sort of, maybe it's a woman default, or I don't know what it is, but like, it is a miracle that when people come together and they realize the value of what you're doing, either brings them joy or they want you to win, or who knows what their reasons are really. But that skill comes down to what we've been talking about already here, which is like the human part, the connection part, this stuff that we're talking about, how we are prescribing external communications is also the same way we at Lately practice internal communications, right? You walk the talk inside and out. And I worked for XM, I worked for IBM, I worked for corporate America before, and I hated it to the point of where it incapacitated me, like literally, right? Like I have a partial permanent disability, because the stress was so high, and I wasn't listening to my body, which was trying to tell me, get out of this, Um, and so because I don't want to repeat that experience to anyone around me, like I'm always thinking about it. Now, I'm not super nice all the time. In fact, most of the time I mean, I know thyself. Like I have people like Lauren and Chris and Ankit and who actually just got hired somewhere else, which we were like, oh, amazing, go do your thing. But and Brian and Jason and Greg and Kristen, it's because um, they're the yin to my yang, right? They get to be the soft, so I can be the hard. But they know my hard. They know what I really mean, so I don't have to cover it up, or I don't have to smiley face it up with them. You know what I mean? So I have to surround myself with those people, Steve, who can fill in the blanks that it's not my specialty spot, right? And I think a lot about, like, I'm a wild horse. You might have heard me say this before. Like the moment you tell me what to do, I'm like, bye, I'm out. And sometimes it's totally irrational, but that is my instinct. And I've tried to treat other people the same way. Now that can be a mistake as a leader, because a lot of people need more guidance and they like more control. But I haven't been able to really employ them for very long. I need to have other people who can just run on their own and figure it out. So it's a really interesting mix that we have. And and you should probably do this too. I don't sit back and take enough pride in the culture I've created, because it's important, right?
It's
You work
the
as much as you sleep.
it's the fuel of your
Yeah.
organization, and it's an invisible tax that will, it's like the gambling house has a vigor.
Right.
And if you don't have culture, that
Yeah.
vigor is taxing your organization and slowing it down, and it's invisible, and it's a stupid tax.
Is. Yeah, it's useless. And you can see, you go somewhere and someone's unhappy with their job because they're just pissing vinegar all over you. And you feel bad for them because I know what it's like to feel stuck. I mean, I do,
Me too.
right? And I just want to shake them and be like, just get out of this. You can do it.
But it took that from your dad to tell you.
Yeah, my dad, I was crying all the time. I was so unhappy because my body hurt so bad and I was terrified because I couldn't so I don't, just so the listeners know, I don't type with my hands, I type with my voice.
Mhm.
So the irony that I still talk for a living is not wasted on me. Um, so because I have epicondylitis and tendonitis through my fingers and elbows. And so I was scared, right? Because everybody types. There's nothing that there's no job you can do where this is not a thing, really. And I also I knew I had to leave radio, and that was terrifying because that was where my identity was wrapped up. And I had to leave like the best radio. I made it. I made it to the show, XM, you know, 20 million listeners a day. I was doing it. And my dad shook me by the shoulders lovingly and said, you can't work for people anymore. And there's no shame in that.
Was- That was a powerful comment.
It was huge because he hit on two things because he opened my eyes that there was another way. And I was like, oh, duh, because my dad owns his own business and my mom owned her own business, right? And the other thing that he hit on was the shame because the reason I was so upset and stressed is because I felt like I was disappointing my male, in this case, boss. And that shame was a huge burden. And I know a lot of people, but especially the women entrepreneurs that I know, we put it on ourselves first. We think, what have we done wrong? It's the first thing we do, right? That's the default. And you run through all the things that you've probably done wrong, which is a fucked up, that's like such a weird way to always see yourself as the cause of the thing. Um, and then when I realized it wasn't me, that was like it was that lift, and it wasn't easy too, Steve, just going, that was a great aha that my dad gave me. Um, but I was reading self-help books, which I loathe because I mean, come on, they're just terrible. So I read The Secret and it was so bad. And I was a fiction writing major. So like I feel like I have a standard. And this was not it. But I plowed through and I remember there was some line in it that just said, what you say is what you are, basically. Or like it's like you are what you eat, that sort of idea. And even today I'll catch myself. But so at the time, all I was saying was, I hate my job, I'm in pain, negative, toxic. And I used to smoke cigarettes. I was really good at smoking. So it was this like toxic pig pen cloud of just negativity. And so I stopped that because I thought about the moments in my life where I felt really good. And I was thinking about softball and hitting a line drive and how I felt like $1 million then. And I was like, that's a really good feeling. Maybe there's something to this. I'm going to try it. And it seemed ridiculous, and it was hard because my friends at work, we all took our smoke breaks together and we all complained about how much we hated work. So I had to stop doing that, and even today, like I've got on my note, I've got a bunch of sticky notes on my laptop right here. One says, "Are you sure?" It's a great question to ask yourself about anything that you're thinking about that's especially negative. Are you sure that person who was up your ass in traffic today was really out to get you? Right? Are you sure? Are you sure that your husband really didn't put the cap on the toothpaste because he wanted to piss you off today? Right? Ask these questions, And the other one I have that I just got from my meditation app that I love, Sam Harris, he recently said, the day will arrive anyway. There's no rush to get to the next moment. See what I mean? So that you don't have you don't have control, that it's going to happen no matter what. So all you can do is embrace this thing here now. And this is hard for me to do. Is it hard for you to do, Steve?
To be here in the moment and
Yeah.
no, I
You're
get
good at it?
I get energy from it because think about it, Kate. How often do you get to sit and talk with someone? You're not interrupted by a waitress or a waiter. You're not checking your text. Your spouse is not wanting to be a part of the conversation. We're getting to talk like geeks, okay? We're getting to talk about, it's just, that's great. My dog's here, but it's not asking for me to pet her, right? So we're just we're just in a room getting to focus on this conversation, and that's what I love.
Amazing. I find it, it's a test that I have to constantly take personally. And like, for example, we'll be driving, as you mentioned, it's beautiful here. The Mohawk Mountain House is right over there. We're right in the thick of the Shawangunk Mountains. It's fall and everything like that. And so most nights around 5 o'clock, we both leave the office, which is our here at the house, and we try to go for a walk because why not? In COVID, like, let's just get out. It's going to be winter and we're not gonna be able to go out so much. And so I've been trying to do this, which is I'll try to turn my phone off then, right before we go, and leave it home. And now it's off for the night, as opposed to on the way there, I'm doing Twitter and my last checks of the social for the day. So like I'm missing the whole drive. And then after we've had a walk, if my phone is still on, I'm like erasing the whole effects of the walk because I'm back at work. So do you know how hard it is as an entrepreneur to turn your phone off at like 5:30? So hard. But
Well, you're
it's the
passing.
people.
If this is a test for you, you're acing it today.
Oh, thanks.
You
Thank
know,
you so much.
that conversation that your dad had with you, is like
Yeah,
there's no shame, and you're not supposed to work for someone. There's this thing that I went through that too. I
you
didn't
did.
have your dad to shake me like that, but think about why it was so hard. We were trying to be a good employee. We were trying to do our best job, but there was something about that environment that was not really grasping our value, and it felt wrong.
Mm.
And that there was something in that wasn't healthy. But then we grow up thinking we need someone's permission to
Mm.
go and do this thing that's deeper and what we're really meant about. And so your dad was saying, look, you don't need permission. You have what it takes. It is going to be messy. And I guarantee you, Kate, I would bet that it's been harder and more stressful, but at least you're driving that caravan of those people that are following you. You're the one that's in front going through all that journey.
Yeah, I would never not do this. Like, even though I know all that I know. I mean, we like to joke and say I get punched in the face every day, but that's how it feels, you
It
know.
does.
But you like it somehow because, to your point, it's the stress of working with assholes is infinitely worse.
Mhm. It
Which is
is.
weird because, like, there's safety in money, like getting a paycheck and knowing it's coming. That can relieve a lot of stress. But I mean, it's not that I don't stress out about money, but I mean, if there's, we've been down to the wire multiple times. my level of my level of pain tolerance is just, for that, is higher than maybe someone else's.
So I want to pivot here. So if you're
Okay.
listening to this on the podcast, be sure to hey, just do this for me. Because Kate, I know you're loving listening to Kate. Just hit a like or a subscribe, okay? And same on YouTube if you've been watching this. Do it for Kate, not me. It's like, this is awesome. This is the best part. Okay, I want to ask you some questions, Kate.
Okay.
Not that I haven't been, but it's like these are questions that a lot of people ask, and I just want to hear your answer because they want to know. Okay, so in your opinion, a robust social media plan includes which of the following?
I'm gonna answer bizarrely. Which the first thing is the most robust, and I'm not sure I like that word so much, but the most robust thing you can do is one thing well. So pick one thing and do it well, right? So you don't have to do all the channels, email, social, whatever it is. Just pick one and be like, I'm going to master this thing.
Why is social media an important part of inbound marketing?
Two reasons. It's because I feel like it's like, oh, would you jump over the bridge if all your friends were jumping over the bridge? So first of all, it's because it is what everyone's doing. And it's where you have to be where people are, right? I mean, if you know that 3,000 people drive down this particular road every day, put your sign out there, right? I mean, it'd be stupid
Right?
not to. So that's the most obvious answer. Yeah, it's not a very sexy one, but you have to.
It's the truth.
Right? Yeah.
So then why is social media so attractive for consumers?
Hmm. Well, because people still think they can measure marketing, and you can't, by the way. That's the right. You're laughing as you know. Yeah, this is the big myth about social media is that now lately certainly is trying to measure the thing that nobody can measure, which is the words themselves, right? So the thing people are still most scared about with marketing is because they don't get it. It's mysterious. And that's that human part we talked about before. The human makes it magic. It's the je ne sais quoi, the thing you can't put your finger on, right? And it'll always be that way. So, try not to get too bunched up about that. But, I always think of this is tied in maybe to your last question a little bit as well. There's an old marketing adage that says, if you're not marketing, you're winking in the dark. Get it?
True. Nobody can see
That's right. Yeah.
you flirting with them in the dark.
Yeah. And you got to do it. Social, you mentioned this in the top, is social is part of they're just basically SEO engines now. All the channels, Facebook or Meta, that whatever they're calling themselves now, which is
Yeah.
thanks for ruining a good word for me, Mark. But you have to be there because you want to be found, right? And the tough thing is there, some people may in fact try to find you, but if you build it, they will come is not true. You have to do handsprings and uh, magic tricks basically to get people to notice you.
You have to have the experience, and you need to be able to communicate, what you're talking about, not just post stuff regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious about, you mentioned it. So Facebook's name is going to change. I think that these social media companies are realizing that people are leaving those platforms. They used to be the only game in town.
Yeah.
Okay. And so there are all these other platforms showing up. What's
Yeah.
late
Clubhouse, right?
Clubhouse and Rumble and all these other things. Does Lately have a plan that includes those?
So here's the secret. We're actually about to release a product that doesn't include a publishing platform, where Lately attaches to whatever you already have. And there's a lot of reasons we're doing this. One of them is because it'll get us much faster adoptability, because I don't have to get you to switch from what you already have, number one. And we believe that it'll make us, whether it's integrating with HubSpot, which we've already done, Hootsuite, which is underway, working on Agorapulse, trying to get Buffer's attention over there because they've paused integration. So I gotta yell at Joel and get him to notice me. But the idea is to make it a frictionless experience so that we're not in charge of figuring out how to integrate with all these new places, right? Somebody else gets to do that who's way better at it than we are, frankly.
Great. So, Kate, we've been listening. We're excited about maybe learning about your platform. How should people reach out, get set up, get a free test drive, whatever it is?
I just love you, Steve. Thank you for being so kind to me today. We're at www.lately.ai. Just wave high. It's no sweat. We like to meet people, as you know, and if you don't want to buy it, that's fine. At least see it. I can guarantee you that your eyeballs will pop out of your head a little bit.
Yeah, do it. 98% of the folks that the eyeballs pop out sign up.
Yeah. All right. You might as well learn our tricks, but if nothing else, see how it works.
Kate Chernis, you've been an awesome guest on the ROI Online podcast.
Thank you so much, Steve. I hope you come for a ride this way again and I can meet you.
Yeah, I want to. We'll figure it out, sincerely. All right, Kate, thanks so much. I appreciate you. And that's a wrap.